Washington Square Park. This was the location of one of the first gay pride rallies back in 1973. Of course, we didn't call it Gay Pride back then. Back then it was called the Christopher Street Gay Liberation Day Parade. And even though they'd had the parades annually since 1970, this was the first year they actually managed to get permits to have it here in Washington Square. Now, despite the fact that the drag queens had played a really catalytic role in provoking the Stonewall riots 4 years ago, someone had the bright idea to ban them from the stage, from the whole rally. Now, this didn't really go down well, and I suspect it was part of that residue sense, that gay people have to look as normal as possible in public. Now, Marsha P. Johnson and Sylvia Rivera, two veterans of the original riots, they had founded a group called STAR, Street Transvestite Action Revolutionaries. And they had a safe house deep in the East Village, and they were working very hard to raise funds and raise awareness. Although, again, back then we called it consciousness. The rally itself was being hosted by Mama Jean. She was a really brassy bulldyker, as we called them then. She wore a yellow hard hat, and she was really intent on keeping the rally on schedule. But Sylvia, who was wearing a lavender jumpsuit, well, she had other ideas. She rushed the stage, she grabbed the microphone, and she began making an impassioned plea on behalf of transgendered people locked up in the prison system. No sooner had Sylvia grabbed the microphone than Mama Jean was on top of her, pummeling her and pushing her off stage left. The crowd didn't like that. And for a moment there, it looked like the whole rally was going to descend into a big free-for-all. One queen, who was dressed as a Statue of Liberty, came up, grabbed the unmanned mic, and very melodramatically shouted, "Gay liberation, fuck you!" And she threw her tiara into the crowd. And then a lesbian grabbed the microphone, and she began trying to explain how drag degraded women. Now, at that point, I noticed something a little odd. I noticed that all the lesbians were on one side, and all the gay men were on the other side. And when the lesbian made her comment about drag degrading women, at that point the men began to chant, first quietly, but growing in ferocity. "Put on a dress, put on a dress, put on a dress, put on a dress, put on a dress," because all the lesbians were wearing blue jeans. And at that point it looked like, it just looked like all hell was going to break loose. That the gay men and the lesbians were just going to start kicking the shit out of each other. And then a man, I think it was Vito Russo, he grabbed the microphone and he tried really hard to get the rally back on track. He said, "Hey everybody, it's Bette Midler." And at that point, the diva of the Continental Baths, she made a downward drive down the stage to the mic, singing her signature song, "You Gotta Have Friends."
But you got to have friends. The feelings are so strong.
At that stage, everybody, gay, lesbian, male, female, everybody stood up, they held hands, and they began swaying to the music together. I should mention that back in 1994, which was the 25th anniversary of the riots, at an event for Stonewall survivors, Mama Jean and Sylvia very publicly kissed and made up. It was a nice touch, but maybe a little manufactured for the gay press. Those events that took place here 40 years ago, they have always informed my sense, I guess, of what you would call the nuances of gay politics. And they guide me to this very day.